Okay, so now that you have put the racking on, you know that the motor is attached securely, the gearbox is running along the racking, you've made sure that you have end stops on either end, ways for the sliding gate to close up again. So we've got an end stop on that end over there, and we have the end stop, which is the post on the other side. All of that's done. We can now say that the motor is installed correctly, the power is on. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put the lid back on the motor, okay? And we're gonna close this, right? And lock it up. Now I'm gonna leave the keys in there because we're gonna need to use this now to access the motor through Bluetooth now that we've downloaded the application. So now we'll go back to the application and look at our phone for further details. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna download the MyCentsys Pro app. This is gonna give you access to the back end of the motor so we can program it to work automatically for your sliding gate. That would be it. It's the one with the green. It says MyCentsys Pro. Now, once this is downloaded, you're going to go through a general configuration of setting yourself up with an account using your email address and mobile number. So you always want to make sure you're connected to the Bluetooth, and you want to allow notifications and Bluetooth on this. It's going to ask you to go through a data declaration right now. So scroll down, accept if you're willing to accept, and continue. You do not need to download the PDF. So now we're going to set you up with that account we were talking about. So you want to set your country. In this case, we're in Australia. The region isn't so important, but you can set that to the correct region. The next thing you'll need to do is your phone number. Now, make sure with your phone number that you do not add the 0 in the process. So put your mobile number in without the 0. This is going to become important at a later stage. All right, so we're going to verify now, and you'll receive a message during the verification process. Some people have received it on Messenger, but in this case, it's gone to WhatsApp. So just make sure you check all your messages, and the same will most likely apply now for your email. So you'll set up your name and your email, and just make sure whatever you set your name as, remember this, because when it comes to setting up your remote, you're gonna have to make sure that it is correct. All right, so now you've added your details, user type. If you click that down, let's just have a look and see. So you can just say DIY installer here if you're a DIY installer, and you probably want to keep away from any marketing or technical bulletins, and continue and press next. Now I'll ask you to go through some terms and conditions. Make sure you read that and you accept and continue. Now please select the font size. These are all just custom, so whatever works for you, and allow your CENTSYS Pro to use your location. You need this for this app. Okay, so now you should see in front of you that you're connected with Bluetooth. You should be able to see that if you've installed your motor correctly, that it should be picking up a motor. And as you can see on our screen, we have a D5 motor that's connected. So we're gonna click on that D5 motor now, and it's gonna ask us to go through a process of connecting to the motor securely. So we'll show you a video of that in a second, but what you wanna do is you wanna unlock the motor, okay? And there's a red button there that you wanna push in and then push out, and then you're gonna close the motor box again and lock it securely. That should prompt the admin user to add your number in users, and if it's done this, you've done the process correctly. And what it will do now is it will connect you successfully to the motor, update any settings that are required, and now if there are any settings that are required to be updated, you'll need to do this now. So press start update. So while you're doing this, you definitely need to have your phone near the motor. If it's not, it won't be connected through Bluetooth and won't be able to connect the motor correctly. Okay, so it might take a while, but what will happen is all those updates will take place, and eventually you'll end up at this position here on your MyCentsys Pro. This is the point where you have full access to the motor and you get to set everything up. In our case, right now, we don't have any beams attached to the motor. So as you look at the indicators underneath the picture of the gate, you can see what's going on with the sliding gate. So you can see that the batteries are full powered. You can see that we have actually turned the mains on with power, right? You can see that the IB, these are the beams, are not connected, they're blocked, and they say blocked because we don't have any beams, right? And the C and the O in those two indicates closed and open, but again, disabled and blocked on this case. Then you have your health Now, it's important to check these and make sure that these are green. Now you can see that there's those exclamation marks there. What this means now is we need to set the gate limit. So as you can see, there's a green button that says set gate limits. Let's do that. Sure, we can collect some location data specific on the motor. So press I accept and continue. Now, it will ask you to go through some safety procedures in order to move forward. As we checked before, both end stops should be fitted. This allows for the gate to securely run back and forth without running off its tracks. So press confirm. You're now going to check for all safety features are disabled, which they are, so you confirm. You need to make sure that the controller is clipped. Now, we did that before we put the motor head back on. We make sure that that was clipped when we put in the batteries. So confirm. Now, this particular point in time, it's not important to set your speed at maximum or slowest. So you're just going to press continue. All right, so let's press start. And it should run the motor now slowly back and forward along the track. The reason it's doing this is the gearbox currently is counting the amount of rotations along the racking to the open and closed position. This allows it to know the exact meterage and length of your sliding gate during setup. So when it hits an end, which it has now, it comes up with a question for you, did the gate reach the end stop? And you will say yes if it has. Now it should move the opposite direction to find the other gate stop on the other end. All right, it's hit another end stop, so you press yes, and it's going to do the process again, just to make sure that those meters that it assumes it has hit is actually correct. At this point in time, it's doing it at a faster pace because it now indicates that it knows where it should be opening and closing. It should slow down as it gets to the end and then slide back at fast speed towards the back until it hits the end stop again. At this point in time, it should know exactly what's going on. So you'll see a question now of, is the gate open or closed? Now, if it is open, press open. If it's closed, press closed. So this is where you can save the name of the motor. We can just leave this as D5. Confirm. It is receiving settings. Do you want to run the configuration wizard? At this point in time, you would say no. This is a really good example of the situation we're in now, is that currently the motor has run the length and the meterage. However, it says that the actual mains, that there's a fault in the mains and the power, and that the health is not good. This means now that we have a problem somehow with the mains power. It could mean that we've shorted something, that the electrical work wasn't done correctly, and you might need to get an electrician out to fix any problems regards to the mains. And if you get this situation, I'd switch off your motor, put it aside so it doesn't run the batteries out. So what we've found is, as you could see in the video, that there was an issue with the mains power. So what we've done is we've diagnosed the problem, we've looked at all our cords, and we can see that there's a loose cord here in our line. So I'm just going to unplug this. And you can see we have a loose blue line. It's pretty self-explanatory. The motor will tell you where it's having an issue, and it's up to you to then diagnose and check everything to make sure it is good and running and operating as it should do. Now, if there's a power shortage like this, the next time you run it, it might have tripped something in the green motor. So you might have to unplug everything and run through the process again. But hopefully in our case, in this situation, hopefully everything is operating as it should. Okay, so we've analyzed what was going on. In the mains, we've noticed that one of the cords was loose. We've unplugged the power, attached all the cords again, make sure that they're firmly secured. And we've logged back into our MyCentsys Pro, and we can see that now the mains is running and operating as it should be. But what you notice now is you still have those exclamation marks. What has happened is when it's shorted, if it's needed us to reset the motor. So on occasion this happens, and I think this is important if you're an installer that you explain this to whoever is purchasing the motor from you, if they have access to the back end. So if anything ever happens with the motor and it does short, you can review the back end, fix the problem, and then you just run the gate stops again. So in this case, what we'll do, right, is we'll press the 3 dots in the middle. We'll go to settings, and at the top you'll see setup wizard. So you'll click on that, and we'll run the system again with all the opening and closing procedures. So confirm and go through the process again. All right, so what we're also going to do is we're going to put beams on. This allows for cars as they enter or kids as they're trying to exit. It sends a little beam across. If we break that beam, it stops the sliding gate in place. So what we've done is we've screwed in the base of the beam with a little screw onto a steel plate. And then what we'll do is we'll clip in the receiver, and this is on the motor end here, right? And just for now, this gets screwed in at the bottom, but we're gonna just put that over the top. I've also moved this little piece here, right? It was on the off position. I've moved that across to the on position. It's a little black section that pops off and pops on. Just gotta make sure that's on the on position, okay? Put that on. We'll do the same on the other side now. All right, so we've done the same with this side over here with the MyCentsys smart beams. Now, when you're purchasing this, make sure the one that we're running with now is called the smart beams. There's also a wireless beam. Don't be fooled, the wireless beam is still wired in on the receiver end near the motor. The smart one is fully wireless, completely wireless. We've put in the batteries, we've screwed them in, we've used a laser to make sure that they're reading each other. They're not gonna click or make any noises, but they are gonna beep when you switch them on. Once you beeped and you switch them on, we've screwed the top plate onto it, but we haven't screwed it in tight yet because we just want to make sure now when we run the motor, it picks up the beams and everything is running as it should. So we're going to run through everything again. We're going to press the 3 dots, settings. We're going to run the run wizard again, setup wizard, and we're going to run through the motor opening and closing again. Confirm, 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 continue. Start. So on this occasion, because we do have beam set up, we want to go yes. All right, IR beams. Do you have beams installed? Yes. Click Photon Smart for closing. Add new. Add photon, okay. Connect to device, awaiting response from device. So what we've done is we've opened the receiver. There's a small button, as you can see in the video that it showed. We pressed the button on the receiver and it has now scanned and picked up that smart beam and now has asked us to name it. So press next. Now we're going to put the smart alignment cap back over the top, which is what we took off in order to press the button. The alignment is being checked. Now obviously we used a laser for this, so this should be perfectly aligned. And we're good, so press next. Saving the configuration for us. Finish. All right, so now if you press back, now you should see in the Photon Smart section that there is a Photon 1. All right, so we're gonna press done. And we're gonna configure the run profile, which we have already done. So you're gonna press no. Do you want to configure triggers? We do, so we're gonna press yes. So to set up the remote, what we're gonna do is we're gonna collect remotes down at the bottom next to the home screen. Now we're gonna add some triggers. So you're gonna press add. And what we're gonna do now is we're only gonna set it up just so that there's one simple button to use for the client and yourself. So you're gonna click on button 1. Yep. Then we're gonna click on trigger. We're gonna click trigger. And now we're gonna press next. And now we're gonna press next again. And now on the actual remote, we're gonna press the blue button once, and when we press it, it will pick it up straight away and automatically take us to the screen. We'll now press next again. That now has transferred the data and connected our trigger remote so it should work. Now we're gonna add one more. So we're gonna do the step again. We're gonna press add. We're gonna click on button 1 because we only wanna set up one button. We're not setting up many because there are 4 buttons, but we're only setting up one. And in that one button, we're gonna choose its configuration, and its configuration is just gonna be trigger. All right, so we press next, and we press next again, and I click that button that I want to respond to the trigger, and it automatically picks it up again, and now you press next, done, and now you have 2 remotes set up on your phone. Okay, so let's go back to the home screen now. So as we can see, the IRBC is blocked. Now, if we click on the three dots, we go to settings. Now there's a button here that says beams. So if you go open IR beams, you can see at the IRB closing section. Now we want that on because while the gate is sliding closed, we want to be able to stop it with the beams if something gets in the way. So what we have done is where it says Photon Smart, we've aligned the beams and we've configured it with the motor to Photon 1. In the middle of that in the car, there's a assigned one or off or I or O. Originally that said IO3. Now what that's saying is that it's connected to a particular part of the motor that sequences to the number 3. We don't want it to sequence to anything. So you don't want it to be connected to any of the IOs in that list. What we want it to be sequenced to is nothing because they're smart and they're not wired into the motor. They're just running through Bluetooth, so they don't need to actually be connected to the motor. So when you're setting this up, just make sure that your configuration is IRB closing on, assigned IO none, Photon Smart on Photon 1. And you should be good to go. So now when you go back, it will validate the settings. And what you should be able to do now is if you press trigger, everything should be running. Cool, press trigger again. Now, on this occasion, when we press trigger for the third time, we've seen that it's worked the first 2 times. What I'm going to do is when that trigger gets pressed, I'm going to walk in between it and hopefully it stops. So let's give it a test. I'm going to press it. Gate's closing. I walk in between. Let's disconnect the beams and open the gate again. Okay, in this case, we've only set up the trigger, right? But there are other functions for the other buttons and you can set up multiple options for your sliding gate. In this particular problem, we have PA access. So the client can access through PA. But if you wanted to, in the trigger section, you could set up a second button with a PA access and you would just assign one of the other colors to the PA button. And what that will allow is for the sliding gate to open slightly to allow for short access. The array that you can achieve with all the buttons is quite complex. So we recommend that you just keep it as a trigger. And when you press it, you can press it a second time and it will stop the sliding gate in its half open position for you. There are other functions that you can set up where you can connect it to your garage and a pin. Those will be on later videos as we get more complex and more advanced with the operational procedure of setting up a motor. The only final piece of information I'll leave you with is if you are setting up a D5 or D10 or D20 CENTSYS motor, it's only the CENTSYS range that works with the CENTSYS motor from our experience. So when you're buying all the extra features, just make sure it is part of the Nova and CENTSYS range for the D5, D10 or D20.